Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and I've decided that I'm going to tackle all of these layouts that I have already planned, but free will isn't nearly as fun. Alright guys, so let's see what the wheel is going to have us create today. It looks like it's going to be Eli and Malachi playing soccer. This was actually at Eli's orthodontist. I pulled out this sketch from Scrapbook Generation. This is from their Create magazine from February of 2014. I do not have any soccer collections, but I do have a ton of soccer embellishments because Eli did play soccer for a little bit. I pulled out this coordination paper. I believe this is from Joann's. And then I also pulled out some paper from Echo Park from their Dots and Stripes collection. And then this orange paper, I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I decided that I was going to have a black background, and you guys can see that I have all this black paper, but none of it is like the same color. So it took me a little bit to find two pieces that were the same color. I'm going to cut the green paper down to 11 by 10. And that's going to give me a 1-inch border around 3 sides of the layout so that the green piece meets in the middle. For the center paper, I'm going to use that striped paper from Echo Park. And then for the border strip, I'm going to use the orange diagonal stripe. A lot of my embellishments have a little bit of orange in them, and so I felt like having that diagonal stripe will bring in that color. This is one of those layouts that I posted in my Facebook group, and I gave you guys a little sneak peek of the gray, orange, and green. And I asked the group what they thought I was going to be working on, and I will tell you that no one guessed soccer. So that's always fun to see what you guys think I'm working on, and then when you guys do see the final layout, you're like, oh yeah, I would have never got soccer from those colors. I did decide that I was going to do some gutting because you guys know that that's what I do best. But for this particular instance, I wanted to mat all of my photos on the black cardstock. And because I have a ton of black cardstock, but not all of it is the same black, I knew I wanted to make sure that I had enough black to be able to mat the photos on the same color as the black background. For this particular gut, I actually went all the way to the edge since the green paper was going to go all the way to the edge. So I have kind of what looks like a C for my background piece, and then when I add the green paper on top of it, you're not even going to be able to tell. This is one that absolutely needs some washi tape because it's such a big area that has been cut out, including one side of it. When I do gut my paper, it does allow for less bulkiness in my albums. I like to have lots of popped up embellishment, including fun foam as well as dimensional pieces, and I try to minimize the bulkiness as much as possible, and gutting my layout is one of the ways that I do that. So now that I got the background together, I'm going to start to work on my strips of paper. I did pull out my T-square ruler and measure up so I knew exactly how far I wanted the paper to fall. I'm going to put the orange diagonal stripes down first on the top and the bottom because I wanted the gray stripes to lay on top of it. So it almost looks like the orange stripe actually goes behind the gray stripes. I do this on both sides because I knew that it would be difficult to make sure that they were in the same spot if I had the gray paper on top of it. I did think about using the other side of this gray striped paper. So one side is like a darker gray and a lighter gray stripe, and then the other side is a gray with a white. So there was a moment that I was like, I kind of like this, but then it didn't really look good with the orange diagonal stripe. I wanted to make sure that I had enough of the black cardstock, so I did decide to go ahead and trim down my photos 1/4 of an inch. So this is going to allow me to use a 4x6 size or a 4x4 or 3x4 size for my photo mats because my photos are just a little bit smaller. Just ensuring that I was able to fit all of them on the part of the black paper that I gutted out. I did pull out my layering guides to add layers to the back of my photos. I love this tool. I do have a tutorial for it listed below. I know that it's really hard to find the smaller ones, but as you can see here, I use the larger ones from time to time as well. And while I do prefer the smaller ones, the larger ones can work just as well. I got all of my photos matted on the black cardstock, and then I'm going to lay them out on the layout just to make sure that I have a good configuration. For the 2x2 photos down on the bottom right, I did decide to go ahead and mount those on a white cardstock, just simply because I felt like putting them on the black was going to have a little too much black. Even though my 2x2s were already connected, I wanted some space between them, so I did decide to cut them apart. And then I now have a little bit of a border around the photos and then a larger border at the bottom, just like the sketch calls for. I was trying to decide where I was going to add the white strip of paper because I didn't want it to cover up too much of the photos. But I couldn't figure that out, so I decided to take a break from that and work on the banner pieces at the top. I pulled out another paper from the Echo Park Dots and Stripes, this one being the dots. It's the same color as the stripes, so it's a tone-on-tone gray. And I decided that I would go ahead and cut down each one of them to 2.5 inches, but they were too big for my banner punch. So I went ahead and cut them down to 2 inches so I could use my banner punch on them. And when I was editing the video, I thought, why did I do it this way? Because I took out my trimmer, trimmed down the piece, then used my banner punch, then went back to my trimmer, banner punch, trimmer, banner punch. It was definitely not a smart time. But I did get them all cut out, and I also decided to cut down some of the green paper in a 1-inch banner, but I did not like the way that that looked. So I decided to try the black paper. So I cut that down to 1 inch and then used my banner punch to cut out a banner on this one. I'm definitely going through a phase where I am loving my banner punch. Both of these are retired from Stampin' Up, but I know you usually can have luck finding them on secondhand places like eBay. So I got all of my banners down and I decided that I was going to do 2 of the banners with the larger polka dots and 1 of the banners with the smaller polka dots. The larger polka dots kind of gives me the feel of soccer balls. I do put the larger polka dots on the outside and then the smaller polka dots in the center. I really like the way that that adds a little bit of interest, but not so much and it's not overwhelming. And then I added down the 1-inch black banners as well as the 1-inch white banner on top of the black banners. There's not a lot of color in this layout, but I feel like the green, black, and gray with that touch of orange just screams soccer to me. I went ahead and got all of my photos down, and I did move up the 4x6 photo just a little bit so that the 2x2 photos wasn't overlapping the photos so much. I'm going to stitch 2 little strips at the top, just like the sketch calls for. I pulled out my Tim Holtz ruler. I will have it linked below. I love this thing because it does have a grip behind it, so it helps set on your layout a little bit easier and doesn't move so much. I then pulled out my threads, and I knew that I wanted to have a tone-on-tone look, so I was looking through my green threads. I kind of narrowed it down to 2, and then from there picked out the one that I was going to use. I'm just going to do a back stitch on this layout, and I did forget to show it to you guys, but there is just 2 rows of stitching right there at the top. The sketch calls for an embellishments all across those banners, and I thought that that would be a perfect time to use a bunch of different soccer embellishments that I have. Anytime I've seen soccer embellishments, whether it's at Hobby Lobby or when I'm purchasing online at scrapbook.com, I always pick up those embellishments because I really haven't seen a big soccer kit. I know Simple Stories came out with a bunch of smaller sports kits, but I don't think soccer was included in it. And I know Doodlebug had one a while ago, but I haven't been able to get my hands on it. So I'm just going to use what I have in my collection because that's what scrapbooking is all about. At least for me, it's about using all the products that we have purchased, that we have loved, and said we were going to use on a layout, so why not go ahead and get them on a layout? So in that cluster, I'm going to add some soccer balls as well as a jersey, a little tab that says goal, another tab that has a soccer ball on it as well. I also added a little orange circle that says enjoy. I have these clear stickers from Hobby Lobby and I was trying to make them work on that little orange tag. I couldn't figure anything out, so I took a break from that and started looking through the other embellishments. I found a little whistle, and then I went back to the clear stickers and I just decided to add the word soccer. It's not anything amazing, but it works. It fit in that area, and obviously the boys are playing soccer. I had also looked through my embellishment books to find anything in orange and black, and that's what that white sheet of paper is. It is actually a backing from some other stickers. I just keep it right on my desk, and anytime I go through my embellishment books, I will add the stickers or embellishments to that so that I have a place to keep them all. I do have a video for my embellishment books, and I will link it below for you guys. So this layout is a little bit different. This is actually like a really nice soccer table at Eli's orthodontist. And my oldest nephew, Malachi, was visiting for the summer, and obviously he was just hanging out with us. We did some vacation things, but we also did some just normal life things, and Eli had an orthodontist appointment. He had never actually been able to play the soccer game because there's usually not a lot of kids. They tend to schedule just a couple kids at a time. So there's usually no one to play with when we go to the appointment. But because Malachi was there that day, he was actually able to enjoy this little soccer table. It has a net all around the edges, and then the boys were able to kick the soccer ball back and forth and score goals on each other. I love when doctors' offices include things for the bigger kids as well, because sometimes it's just boring sitting there waiting for the dentist or the doctor. I finished the cluster up there at the top and then started working on the one over on the far right. I added one of those like foam number ones, and then right below it, I added a soccer ball as well as a little black tab. And then I used one of the clear stickers that says man to man. And I also added a little geotag that says love this. And then when I was looking through my embellishment books, I had found this word moments, and I was like, you know what? My title could be enjoy the little moments. I also was able to find the word enjoy, but I was struggling to find a place for my title. The sketch calls for the title to be over on the far right-hand side, but the word moments was too large. So I moved the title up to above the photos, and I'm going to create a cluster in that area, and then I'm going to add my journaling where the sketch calls for the title. So I pulled out my T-square ruler. These letters are super, super flat and thin, but the font on them is so much fun. And I really like pairing that type of fun font with a scripty font. And I really wanted the word enjoy, especially the Y and the J, to hang down into the word moments. I pulled out these tiny tile stickers to spell out the word the and little. And I do put those up on foam adhesive from scrapbook.com to give them a little bit more dimension against that black title. I nestled the word the and little right above the word moments, as well as underneath the Y of enjoy. Then I started to work on that cluster as well. I added a soccer ball, and that's one of the flat stickers, and it's actually clear, so the green kind of shows through a little bit. I really liked that little goal. It actually has mesh for the goal net, so I liked the texture and dimension that added. For the bottom part of the 2x2 squares, it calls for some ribbon down there or some twine. I have this twine that I've had forever, and it's two-tone color, so I decided to go ahead and pull out 3 of them. I pulled out the orange and white, the black and white, and the green and white, and I added one of each of them to that area. So it does call for 3. I did also pull out my glue dots, and I added the glue dot down before I tied the knot so that it would help with the knot staying in place. I just tucked the string underneath the white cardstock and then pulled it up to tie the knot. I have so much of this that I didn't worry about trying to save it. And because there's 3 of them, there's not really any bulkiness to it because it all does lay flat. So let me know in the comments below. Does your kid's doctor or dentist have fun things like this for them? And have you ever documented them? I did do a big batch journaling, and this was part of it. I do have a tutorial on how I print out my journaling like this, and I will link it below for you guys if you would like to print out some strips journaling. For this particular layout, my journaling says, Eli's orthodontist has an impressive soccer table. Malachi was visiting for the summer and was able to join us for his appointment, allowing the boys to enjoy a friendly game of soccer together. So nothing fancy on that journaling. Sometimes I feel like I can write a really nice journaling, and sometimes I'm just like, it is what it is. And this isn't a grand layout. It's not like it's an impressive thing. I mean, the table is pretty impressive, but it's really just the boys enjoying some soccer together and having a good time as brothers. So the journaling is pretty simple. I did decide to put the date over on the far left-hand side. And then I did go back to my embellishment books and I looked through my gray embellishment books because I felt like I needed to add some gray pieces to each one of the clusters. So I was able to find a really large enamel dot that actually has like a chevron pattern to it. I also found a gray star and a gray camera. And I think that adding the gray to the clusters really does help. I also was able to find some hexagons that were white and had black polka dots on them. And then I also found a little tab that says siblings, and I added that up to the upper left-hand side. These little brads are a silver star, and I've had them forever. I got them from Hobby Lobby. I don't even know if they still have them. It's a part of their spare parts, which is a line that they carry with just random things that you can add to your layouts, like stars and hearts and things like that. And I really liked that texture that it added to the clusters. I then pulled out my color boxes in orange and green and added some enamel dots to each one of my clusters. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. This is one of those layouts that I had planned a while ago, but I had been avoiding it because I didn't have a collection to go with it. But I'm so glad that it chose this layout for me because I was able to pull some different pieces from my embellishment books as well as other things from my room. And now they are on a layout and in an album. All right, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.